everyone needs an emergency fund. So today our video is going to cover what is an emergency fund, why do we need an emergency fund, and some tips to help you either get started or manage your emergency fund. Okay, so first let's talk about what is an emergency fund. So an emergency fund is a bucket of money or a resource where you can access money that you've set off to the side for emergencies. Some people call them your oh my gosh moments. And so when you have the tires go out unexpectedly, when you have your pet that you love so much unexpectedly gets sick, or fill in the blank, when something happens, you have two choices. You can pull money from your own savings account that you've set off to the side, which we're calling an emergency fund, or you can put it on a credit card. And we want to talk to you about establishing an emergency fund versus doing the credit card, because when you go and you put your emergency expenses or these unexpected oh my gosh moments on credit cards, you're really paying somebody else to borrow that money, which then puts you in debt, causes stress, and it can oftentimes lead into a cycle. So an emergency fund, again, is money that you have set off to the side for emergency expenses or when things arise. How much money should be in an emergency fund? Well, Dave Ramsey used to say that you needed $1,000 just to get started. It's actually one of his baby steps. But we now have him saying that he is wrong. And if you're not a Dave Ramsey person, that might not seem crazy to you, but if you know Dave Ramsey, he does not say he's wrong very often. So Dave agrees that $1,000 is no longer the minimum amount. So what do we need an emergency fund? Well, I think it's important to follow Dave's original train of thought of we need to get started somewhere, somehow. So I would like to start off with setting some goals. So if the first goal is just to get $500, $1,000 set off to the side that prevents you from reaching for that credit card, that's a great first step. And so we should add that to our goal list. Maybe that's your first goal. The second goal would be to get to 1 month of expenses. So how much does it cost to run your household each month? And that would be your second goal, having 1 month of emergency fund expenses. So if you are between your rent or your mortgage, maybe your car payment and your basic bills that you pay, what is that number? And maybe that's your second goal. Okay? Your third goal, or you're ultimately wanting to get to 3 to 6 months of living expenses. So if it costs you every month, you're living on, let's say, $4,000 a month, okay? 3 months worth of expenses, you're gonna want $12,000 set off to the side. Some of you think, whoa, you want me to have 12 grand set off to the side? That seems like a lot. To some of you, that's not a lot of money at all. The importance is that whatever you're needing, you set off to the side and that you start somewhere. So again, if you need to start off with $500 to $1,000, make that your first goal. Ultimately, how much do we need to have into an emergency fund? We want to have 3 to 6 months of living expenses. So one of the things that I like to do is, how are we going to come up with whether that first goal is the $500 to $1,000, ultimately leading up to that 3 to 6 months? It's important to keep yourself motivated. We as human beings like instant gratification. So if you can say, okay, I'm going to get to that 3 months of expenses. We're going to go back to our example of you need $4,000 a month, and so our goal is $12,000. When you reach that goal, it's really important that you set or reward yourself. So do something, whether it's go get a massage or go out to eat at the restaurant you never go to for whatever reason. Set a small reward for yourself to keep yourself motivated. So when you accomplish the goal of setting the emergency fund, you have something to look forward to, and you're celebrating the accomplishment or the goal that you set to achieve when you achieve it. I think that's really important, has been super helpful for my clients when we're setting goals and we feel really good about accomplishing them. So how could you start to set money off to the side? Because right now you might be in a situation where you don't have an emergency fund. So Mel, how do I get started? The first thing that you can do is start by redoing your budget or looking at your budget. So go through whether it's your bank statements, physically with paper or on your phone. Go through what you're spending your money on and what can you cut out to start putting money towards your goal. If you just do a quick budget audit or a spending audit, it's easy to find some money. You're like, oh, I didn't realize I still have that subscription, or I didn't realize grabbing that cup of coffee each morning is adding up. Maybe I'll cut down to 1 day a week so I can put the rest of the money towards my emergency fund. Small things like that will add up over time and will help you get to your goal. So really, how do you get started in creating that emergency fund? It would be by evaluating the money that you have coming in and what is going out. I also like to think of this no different than if you are focused on your health and you're trying to maybe lose some weight for summer. We have to look at calories going into the body versus the calories that we are burning off. Money is the exact same way. We have to look at the money coming in and the money that's going out. The difference is then we want to keep the money in the bucket, right? And we want to make it go towards our emergency fund. So another tip that I'll give to you on starting an emergency fund or really managing emergency fund is it's really important to make sure that you put this money off to the side, separating it from your day-to-day spending. So we really want to organize it to where it's either out of sight, out of mind works for a lot of people. So this could be a bank account at a different bank. It simply could be a savings account that you're not looking at all the time. On your phone, you can actually hide, and some bank apps, you can actually hide your bank accounts so you can't see them. And maybe you're only looking at that statement if you get a paper statement or electronic statement. But that would be another tip that I've seen have success with individuals who really just need to have this account out of sight, out of mind, not realizing I have 10 grand sitting there or 12 grand sitting there. It feels like, ooh, we can go on vacation. When no, we really want to make sure that we have this money set off to the side if the air conditioner goes out, if something happens to your car, you fill in the blank of what's happened in the past. Again, we want to make sure that we can reach for money into our savings account or in that separated account versus putting it on a credit card and paying somebody else to borrow that money. When it comes to spending the money that you have set off to the side, when you have an emergency happen, let's say your tire goes out on your way home from work or on your way home from the grocery store, don't feel guilty or shame yourself for touching that money. That's what it's there for. Sometimes we get really excited about, man, we made it to our goal and we do have that $12,000 sitting there and that feels really good and your stress level has changed, and so it might feel a little stressful to go and touch that money. It's a mental shift that you have to make to say, no, it's okay. This is why we have it there and we can go and we can use that money. Then after you have addressed the tire or whatever situation you've come across, then you can sit down, re-go through your budget and decide, how am I going to replenish that emergency fund? So just if you make a commitment to yourself, one, if I have an emergency, it's okay to spend this money, but then two, I commit to myself to replenishing that. That can remove that kind of internal battle that you might face when it comes time to using your emergency fund money. So in this video, we really covered why an emergency fund is super important. We gave you how much you really should have set off to the side for an emergency fund and some tips to help you get started and manage your emergency fund. I hope this video has been helpful, and we'll see you next time.